Welcome to the most incredible marketing show ever. The show where each week a panel of respected marketing strategists, all trained and certified by the legendary Dan Kennedy, share their wisdom, experience, strategies, and insights on how to use Dan Kennedy's philosophy on business and marketing in any type of business, and that you can apply to your business immediately. Here's your host, Craig Valine.
Hello and welcome to the most incredible marketing show ever. I'm your host, Craig Valine, and with me is my panel of guest experts, independent business advisors for Dan Kennedy, certified, great entrepreneurs in their own right. Welcome to this most incredible marketing show. We were talking about this earlier about being very incredible, so we're glad you're here. We get questions from listeners sometimes, and today we're going to address one or two of them. Let me bring up this one, which I've heard at local chapter meetings, I've heard in my own business. And so the question is, what strategies can small business owners implement to build strong, loyal customer base that pays and refers others? Steve, let's start with you. You did have the largest chapter in the IBA universe, the GKIC universe, and those people stayed with you for a long time. How did that occur? What happened?
Yes, well, that's how much time do we have? I mean, I taught a whole full-day seminar on that. In fact, Bill Glazer himself used to, once in a while when he would see me, he would say that their stick rate, which for the viewers and the listeners, that means how long someone stays with you. He said, our stick rate is only like, 4.2 months or whatever it was. And they had a 2-month trial. And he's like, after a couple of paying months, everyone quits. And he said, I looked it up. Your stick rate is 13.7 months or something. He goes, how do you do it? And the first time he asked me, I was like, the great Bill Glazer himself is asking me how I do it. So I had to think about it. And so my first thing I'm going to say is, I guess it's technically I hope it's not a strategy. I just hope it's something that's natural, is number one, love your people. Number one, just approach it from, I love my customers, my patients, my clients, my members, whoever they are, I love them. And then what would someone who loves his family, I consider them part of my family. What would you do with your family? You have kids, you have a family, what do? You stay in contact with them, you give them gifts at the appropriate times, you say happy birthday when it's their birthday. So things like this. Have you collected information from people? That's a strategy. When they first come in, there's an intake form in a professional's office or in any business they come to. And if you're a go-to-them contractor, you can still have them fill out a form, name, address, how you found us, what's your birthday, what's your favorite restaurant, what's your favorite rock band, what's your favorite movie? Like, just ask them some questions. And then when it's their birthday, send them dinner at their favorite restaurant. Send them a framed album from their favorite rock group. I mean, just think of things you can do that you would do when you love people and watch how it comes back to you many, many, many times over. I know people are viewing this or listening. I know when I've taught this over the years, people push back and go, well, I can't. That's a lot to do, Steve. Yeah, it's a lot to do, but it's a heck of a lot. Isn't it worth it to have a 3 times the stick rate of your competitors to keep your customers? I hope everyone knows the saying, it costs a lot more to acquire a customer than it is to keep them. So how much money did you spend in advertising to acquire somebody? Can you then spend a little bit on a dinner and a special something? And just, I would send people in my chapter copies of books that I read, and I would give them things. I would show up at chapter meetings always with gifts and tokens and this and that and whatever. Like, what would you do with people you love? How would you speak to them? What would you do for them? What would your attitude be for them every day when you wake up? That's where it really starts.
That's awesome. I agree. Joe, what do you have to say about this?
Well, one of the things I'm going to go back to what Steve was saying, and I remember seeing some videos that he would publish out, is one of the things he'd do at the end is he'd get them all together and I'm assuming it was probably some kind of juice, not champagne, but whatever. But you had them all, you know, lift a glass and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get going. And so they got this whole thing of the idea of having a community. They're all together and they're all trying to learn and they're all trying to, improve their business. And I think that's part of it. It's what Steve did was community building. Basically, yeah, we nowadays do more social media and things like that, but if he's having these monthly workshops that, or we're having monthly online things, we can do something like that where we've got the people together. Um, it's what are we doing here? We're personalizing it. We're coming up with a really unique customer experience, excuse me, that I think is important here. And we want them to feel part of that community, part of everybody else together, and this camaraderie. And that's really, the whole thing about building a strong, loyal customer base. You've got everybody together. I mean, nowadays, people will put up a community chat area for their business. And that's where, excuse me, online there, people are chatting with each other. I took that product and, I had this idea and I tried it. Hey, it works, whatever it is. And of course, you as the business owner or people within your business need to be actively involved. You just can't let them go and do their own thing. So you have to let them know that you're part of it and that, you're helping them along. So again, it's all about that personal. You're becoming personal, doing some personal marketing. And if you have some kind of loyalty programs, then people will want to get involved. It's all a matter of not just selling the product once and see you later. It's how can I get them to buy more, and how can I get them to feel like they're really benefiting from what they're experiencing with the products and other people together.
Yeah, I have to. Thanks for reminding me about that. Our famous champagne toast at the end of every meeting. I called the group Chicagoland Sharpest Entrepreneurs, and that was, you're right, it was about 50-50. We had about half real champagne and then half fake champagne for people like me. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in 32 and a half years, knock wood. And other people that realize they're driving home, maybe they don't want to have some alcoholic beverage. But we raised the glass and we just celebrated very simply the fact we are Chicagoland's sharpest entrepreneurs. I'll drink to that. And so I locked them into the fact that we're celebrating, as you say, Joe, we are members of this exclusive group. There's thousands, Chicago, it's a big city. There's tens of thousands of business owners, and there was like 150 people in my group. So we are an exclusive group, and we celebrated that every month when we came together. Something, again, you would do, I hope everyone does with their family at a wedding. You do a toast at a Christmas or a Thanksgiving, you give thanks, and everyone very personal, exactly. And it goes on from there, but you hit the nail on the
head. Another mentor, not Dan, but someone else had mentioned treat your customers like dear and valued friends. And that had stuck out with me for a long time. Although at times when I had ups and downs in my business where there was times where I really needed the money. And so I, would follow up with a client or a member or something like that and follow up with them and say, please, not beg, but I would, be after them to pay. But then I finally got to the point where how would I feel if I were in that position where I really wanted to be here, but I was having a tough time paying. So I worked out things so that they didn't feel embarrassed about paying and they would stay and maybe greet people at the front door at the events, or do the registration, or just walk around and do testimonials or do something like that. And because I treated them like I would like to have been treated when I went through, that built rapport tremendously. The other thing is, people would always say, how did you remember my name? Like if they were a guest a while back and I let them come, I invited them again. It's like, how did you know my name? How did you know my wife's name? How did you know my kids' names? Like, because I intentionally wanted to know those things. And, in the questionnaire, when they come in for the first time, I tried to get as much information about them as possible. And, as Bill used to say, people go to events or join things like that for one or more of three reasons. Number one, they're searching for help. Number two, they want to belong. They want to be around other people like us or them. And number three, they want to show off. So if you understand that and you let people be, you get the people who are looking for help, give them a strategy or something that they can do to help. And by the way, we're talking about our local chapter, but this applies to any business. Number two, if they want to belong, then you make sure you introduce them to other people in the group, let them know, you know, who they are and who this is and so on and so forth. But the other thing is if they like to show off, and show off just means they like acknowledgement, because again, as Bill Glazer has said to us before, the successful entrepreneur is the loneliest person in the world. So it's like, who do we have to brag to that, hey, we accomplished this thing? Let people brag about their lives, about their accomplishments and the things that they've done in life.
And how that applies even to, say, I'm a plumber or a heating and air guy. How does that apply? Well, as Craig says, some people like to show off their home, which is almost everybody, certainly the housewife, would appreciate. Don't you walk in the home and compliment, oh man, this is a beautiful entryway you have here. Wow, you've really done great work with the interior decorating. Is it so tough to care enough to say, wouldn't you do that in a relative's home? Here, I always picture the old show Seinfeld, and he had this crazy neighbor Kramer, who famously in every episode would just come blasting through the front door anytime he wants, go right to the refrigerator and just take something out and eat it anytime he wants. And Jerry would famously never say, what are you doing? You don't just come barging into my house anytime you want and go to my fridge and start eating my food. And I watch it, I go, yeah, that's my dream. And I tell all my clients, I say, that's my dream. If you're ever in the area, please don't call and ask if you can come over. Please, and I'm smiling now, I would love it. Please just come barging through the front door, walk right up to the refrigerator and take anything you want. I would love that. That's what I would love, to be Jerry Seinfeld and all my clients be Kramer and feel so at home. They could all come and do that anytime. I would love that. That attitude, I believe, is where it starts. And from there, of course, what you can actually do for them, that comes easy once you love them.
Yeah.
This episode of The Most Incredible Marketing Show Ever is sponsored by Rochelle Shaw and her new book, $1 Million Partnerships. You can grab the $1 Million Partnerships Accelerator Kit at www.milliondollarpartnerships.com. That's www.milliondollarpartnerships.com. Now, back to the show.
True. I mean, we were just talking briefly before we started this that my central air has just gone. So already I've had two companies come and see me. And the first one came, he went around, looked outside, looked up in the attic, spent the time, took measurements and so forth. And then he sat down at the kitchen table. And, this is really well designed to what you had originally. And I like the way it's set up, and it's a really nice house and blah, blah, blah. And then he went into two options that I could possibly use to replace the system I have. That was good. And then he sent me a quote later. And it made me feel like he understood what he was dealing with here and what the situation was. The second company came in, and I couldn't believe it. Within 15 minutes, they were gone. They came in, looked at the attic, looked outside, looked down the cellar, and he says, we're going to send you a quote by 2:00 this afternoon, which they did. But I'm like, you really didn't even talk to my wife, because I happened to have to step out. He says, you didn't really talk to her and ask her about, when the air conditioning was working, was it providing enough cool air in the house? Was it, different things? And it was amazing. It's just a totally different approach. It was kind of a turnoff. So, but yeah, I mean, again, in this case, he comes in, he looks around the house, compliments it, looks at different things, and then he has a sit down and he goes through some things so that we knew when he sends a quote what we're looking at. So,
that's a great story, and that's before you're even a customer. Now, from Craig's question, how will they get you to stay and pay and refer? Pretty simple. They'll continue that kind of treatment of you, which I predict will be some of the things I said. They will send you a monthly newsletter. They will celebrate your anniversary. You've been with them 5 years. They will come every quarter when they come in for the maintenance. They'll remember your wife, and they'll refer back to something they talked about last time. They'll treat you like family.
Right.
And that way you'll stay with them and you'll refer forever.
Right. Right.
Well done, company number one.
That's right.
This is a good telltale sign that they'll stick with you for a long period of time. I mentioned it in a previous episode, but I had a major life experience about 5 years ago where I moved out of the state to Las Vegas followed a woman, and it just went sour, and I was having a very difficult time. And the members that I had from previous, I believe I had them for about 10 years already. They said, obviously Craig's going through something and we need to stick with him. And so when I came back, they were there to help me and to support me and to get me through. And it was a very bad time, very dark time. Things are much better now, given the circumstances. But but the point being was these people felt like my family. And that was through all the treatment that I had gone through, all the relationship. And again, they're not really strategies. It's like kind of being like a good human being. Just treat the people like you would treat the people you love, the people you care about. And, there are some people in this world who don't treat their friends very well. We're not talking to you. We're talking to the people who are good human beings who treat people with kindness and consideration and dare I say love, because these people are just wonderful people. And this day, I have a client who doesn't need my services anymore. He's moved away, but he still calls like every month to check in on me, check in on my wife who's going through something right now, check on my family, check on me. And that's because of the relationship that I built over time. So, the lesson there is if you treat people with respect, with kindness, with asking them about themselves. People love to talk about themselves, by the way, and they love to be asked about themselves. If nothing more, if they don't want to talk about it, they at least ask. They appreciate being asked. How's your family? How's your life going? How's stuff like that. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. These people became great friends of mine. I have stopped my mastermind, the one that I had here based on the GKIC model, but those people are some of my best friends in the world. So.
Well, and you cultivated that, but I'm saying I'm going to go to what you just said. I don't think you did it as a strategy. You did it because that's who you are. And the people came in looking for help. As you said, that's one of the things ostensibly they come in for, but they're people and you love them and you care about them. And they felt that and they reciprocated that when it was time. And I have a feeling they reciprocated that with each other as they went through tough times. And that's another thing you said people are looking for, somewhere to plug in, somewhere to belong to. And, you talk about strategies. We talked about a whole bunch of strategies here. Send them a monthly newsletter, give them gifts, give them a birthday, say happy birthday, remember the names of their family people, sit down and talk to them, compliment all kinds of strategies. And it reminds me, Craig, of Joe, you mentioned seeing videos. They're still all over YouTube and whatever of my monthly events. But my holiday party was legendary in the Dan Kennedy world. I mean, chapter directors come flying in just to come to it. And then invariably, they would all look at me and go, how are you possibly paying for all this? I had open bar. Talking about, it wasn't just a champagne toast now at the end. It was open bar, wine, beer, champagne. I instructed my beautiful wife, Michelle, honey, get the best thing off the menu, get all of it. So for all the hors d'oeuvres, we had, shrimp cocktails and lobster sliders, and I don't even know what the stuff. It was just the greatest things they had on the whole menu. We wined and dined them and served them and loved them all night long. And they all went away with a holiday gift basket, which I purposely went to the Costco. You have to get in there 2 months before Christmas because they'll all be gone on a weekend. And I had the manager call me when they come in because I just went in and grabbed thousands of dollars worth of gift baskets in all different levels. And then I awarded them in all different levels to my members. So my top personal client members got the big ones, and then the slightly smaller in the mastermind group, and then the regular members got a little smaller one. But even the guests that showed up for that event got a little gift basket. So people ask, well, how do you pay for all that? I'm like, here, you do the math. here's another strategy. You do the math and you charge enough so that you have a little margin to do all this. So
Right.
as soon as somebody paid me a monthly membership at whatever level, I knew X amount of that is going towards the holiday party. And when the holiday party comes, they paid for it. I just didn't pocket every penny they gave me as if it was my profit and I love life myself. I gave it back to them. That's another strategy to use because they really appreciate that. And every year, I mean, I really did it up. I had like Craig says, I had a photographer that I didn't charge me a member, but he had to go do photo. Well, for the holiday party, he set up this whole shebang with the lights and the background of this, and he took free portrait things and he delivered the photos for free. And I told everyone, therefore, dress up to the nines and bring your spouse because you can use these in your holiday cards and your everything. And people would come dressed in a tuxedo, in a suit, and a tie, and whatever. It was a big deal. Everyone loved it. Everyone felt like it was a family event because it was. It's a number one strategy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and I think, and you brought up something there too. You knew that when they started to join your mastermind or another level of private coaching or whatever, you had that all built in. You knew what it was going to run you roughly. And I think that's the thing that a business owner has to look at instead of, when I've said something like this, we should do a loyalty program or something. Well, I don't really want to spend that kind of money. I don't have that kind of, well, wait a minute. Let's take a look at what it costs you for the products and services you have, and we can tack on a little bit more, and then we can that you're selling, and then it covers it, and that has worked because the first reaction is, I got to spend more money. Wait a minute. No, we're gonna build this in.
Well, so Craig will hit us with that topic for another day. The difference between the mindset difference between spend and invest.
Amen. Right. We will tactical that. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we gotta end the show here. But listen, if you've heard anything on here that makes sense, especially from Steve, who had the largest chapter in the GKIC universe, but we are all adept and very knowledgeable on how to keep customers or members or clients or students for life. So please check us out. By the way, we have a free gift for you at mostincredible.marketingshow.com. Please check it out. There's a free gift from all the panelists who've ever been in any of our episodes. Check it out there. If you want to follow us, go to youtube.com/@mostincrediblemarketingshow. We have new episodes every Thursday. Guys, I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you so much for being on this episode. If you're listening or watching on this episode, thank you for listening. We'll be back next Thursday. See you.
See you all.
Thank you for joining us this week on The Most Incredible Marketing Show Ever. New episodes are available every week on Thursdays. To receive a free gift pack from our expert panelists and get access to show notes from previous episodes, be sure to visit our website, www.mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell up in the right-hand corner to be notified of future episodes so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you clicking the like button and leaving a comment on what big aha you got during the show. That's it for today's episode. See you next week.